What's up, guys? It's Kayla.
And Jim.
And we have just arrived at the movie theater to watch which movie?
Twisters!
Follow along as we go, watch the movie, and come back and give our review of the movie Twisters.
Wow. So,
I feel like I was just in a tornado.
if you feel it.
Jason! Oh, okay. Initial thoughts. We have seen the movie.
Obviously, we just got out of the movie. Raw emotion, raw reaction right now. Holy cow, that was
A whirlwind.
a whirlwind.
I mean, cloud seeding.
Well, let's hit the good stuff. Let's hit the good stuff first.
Okay, so here's how this video is gonna go.
Yeah.
Here are our initial reactions. You're about to see in the next few minutes us sitting down and going through the specifics because I made a list as we were watching it.
This movie begs
It needs
more details.
It needs a full review. If we're gonna just sit in the car and do it, we have to sit down and film. So, initial thoughts. Holy cow, does it live up to Twister? The feeling is there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is it Twister? No, nothing is ever going to be Twister.
Twister always sets the bar.
It's going to be Twister over Twisters forever and ever. But holy cow, the thrill, the joy, the emotions, the feelings, it's all the same.
It's all there.
Oh
Wow.
my gosh. It's
Wow.
not just a weather movie, folks. It's a movie.
I'll put it this way. They built it up, and for me, it met and exceeded expectation. I
Worth
mean,
the hype.
they built it up. We thought it was, how hyped is this? But they did a great job.
They didn't just include the clickbaity parts in the trailer. The whole movie was good. The terminology, I mean, was it accurate? We'll get into that later. But they had the terminology. They had the whole alphabet of government agencies.
That's right.
They had
The technology.
I mean, some of the technology they had is like, oh, can we have some of that? That looks cool.
It was weather. It was meteorology. It was technology. It was tornadoes. It was video footage, actual footage, and then CGI'd, and it looked
Beautiful.
It looked like they
beautiful
definitely
film.
improved. It wasn't like some of the other videos that we've watched, some of the other movies that
Right.
we've watched.
Yes.
It definitely played on Twister, and Twister's 1996 CGI. Just imagine developing your CGI over 2 decades plus, and now making a movie with better technology, better CGI. And to me, they did a great job. They honored the spirit of Twister in Twisters and took it to the next level. They made it 2024, and props to everybody. Great job, great
Well done.
acting,
Well done.
great script writing,
Yes.
great directing, great producing.
Nothing
Great job.
but praise. So, should we say a quick goodbye and hello and then meet them back in the Meteortech Weather Studio to talk about the details?
Let's do it.
See you soon. We have arrived at home. I have a weather t-shirt on. We are ready to discuss all of the things. I have my list. First, let's just start off with some of the pros before we get into the cons.
There was a lot of pros in this one. Some of the pros are they had good terminology.
They did.
They had a good mix of a storyline and the meteorology.
Mm-hmm.
They had great weather graphics and images
gosh.
when it came time
It all went with everything.
to do the things.
Phenomenal.
They had very good realistic backgrounds, storm backgrounds, along with a kludge of the CGI folded in nicely.
Beautiful storm footage.
Yes, definitely. There wasn't anything that was too crazy. They did have a plot line where there was motivation because of an earlier part of someone's life. What's the motivation going into this and some of that? So
It did have the cliche of, oh, we couldn't possibly have a movie without the main character having a tragic backstory in which all of her friends and family have died via tornado. So apart from the cliche, I mean, but that's like a motivating factor,
Right.
and you need an easy motivating factor, like in the first 30 minutes of a film. This was it. That's just filmmaking.
and that's all part of how the viewer can connect with the character. So
emotion.
they did a very good job with that. Very impressed with how they put it together.
This was an actual movie, not like a weather movie. Like, this is actually, it's got big name actors, it's got big name producers. Like, they put the time, the energy, and the money into this.
You could tell.
And they created a film. Shout out to everybody who had a part in this. I just got thumbs up.
And as we discussed, I think, in one of our other videos, and that was some of the producers and
Yes.
and folks from Twister
Yep.
actually had a role in this film as well. And what they learned from the first Twister and all of its production, they were able to take it to the next level
Yeah.
in Twisters. Excellent job when it came to that.
Excellent. Some interesting thoughts after seeing the film. I was expecting that they were going to tie this into Twister somehow, but it is its own film other than a couple nods and obviously Dorothy. But there's like no mention of anything that happened in the movie Twister.
Right.
So I have some questions like, how did they come upon Dorothy?
There's some of that backstory that they didn't include.
Yeah. I'm just wondering why it's called Twisters. Like, why is it piggybacking off of Twister? Obviously, there's a lot of same themes and stuff across the board, but it's not like, oh, this one is the child of this one and
Yeah.
carrying on the legacy or anything. I was expecting there to be more ties to Twister. Now, I'm not, knocking
Right.
it for not having that. It's just interesting. I thought it would have had more of that.
It definitely stands on its own.
Yeah.
And I was expecting a cameo from Helen Hunt, I guess. I
was expecting
for some reason,
something.
For some reason, I was thinking that, seeing all the hype building up to
Yeah,
it. But
I don't
if you
know.
thought that too, go ahead, comment below. But
Yeah,
I thought there would have been, she would have had some sort of role in
Right.
it.
Maybe
you
she's
know.
a chief something. Maybe she hands off Dorothy to the team, and I don't know. I was expecting. it
Maybe
to
if
be...
she's just serving coffee at the drive-in. Or lemonade.
We don't have the drive-in this time. We have the movie theater. She
That's
could
right,
be at the
movie
concession
theater.
stand.
There are so many pros to this movie.
Yeah.
So let's get into a little bit of the cons. And what's funny
Yes.
is we started seeing some things and Kayla whips out her phone and she starts tapping away.
Okay, I wasn't being the annoying one in the movie theater. The
No.
movie theater that we go to, there's like literally nobody, and the 4 people in there were laughing and talking just as much as we were, so they didn't care that I had my phone out taking notes. Again, not taking away from how great we think this movie is. We do have to nitpick because, hey, welcome to Meteotech Weather. This is our channel, folks. We're gonna point it out. I have a list, and we're going to point out some of the things like, hey, that was a cool tidbit, and you know what? That was just incorrect.
We haven't touched on all the pros. We're not going
Right.
to touch on all the cons, but
Just a
we just give a good overall for the
overall. First thing is a quote. Ever since you got struck by lightning, you're no fun. Phenomenal line.
That's not a con.
That's not a con. That's just a
That was just a
phenomenal.
note
That's just
that we
that's just the first thing I have on here. That's just my first note. All right, now getting into the cons. They had a whole argument in one of the opening scenes about whether the 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi to count the lightning strikes between the count between the lightning and the thunder to tell the distance. They had like a whole scene where they're like, "That's not true. That's not true. That's not true." It would be news to me if that's not true.
There's the method of counting and then dividing by 5.
Right.
And that's the method that is
That's how-
tried and true.
Right.
What was debunked was counting and then saying that number was the distance.
Okay.
But they didn't really go into
They
that.
didn't
They
go into
just
that at all.
said it in a sense that made us feel like it was
past.
discounted completely.
Right.
It's like they didn't go into that a little bit, but
Yeah, nitpicking.
Nitpicking. Yeah.
The second thing I have to point out is I understand that they are enthusiastic young scientists, storm chasers. Why would you drive into a hail core? Nobody's doing that.
Especially when you got instruments that are
That's so much money!
mounted
You
outside.
are destroying so much money! Like, I get it, punch the cord to go get to the tornado, that's fine, but they're like, oh, the tornado's right on the other side, we're gonna, it's just all rain, hail, wind, tornadoes, and things that are destroying everything. Why are we driving through that, guys? Get the next one. You get every single tornado in this movie. Just get the next one. You have a 100% forecasting rate. There will be more. Our next little thing, the speedometer, as they are now driving away from this tornado, he's flooring it. They are going 70, 80 miles an hour, and the tornado is still gaining on them. Things are flying everywhere. There's debris. Somehow they're still going to be swallowed up by this tornado that is catching them. Do tornadoes in real life have a forward momentum ground speed of 80 miles an hour when they are that large?
Well, we did do one case study, but it wasn't as large as this monster EF4 looking,
Absolute
EF5 looking
Huge.
system.
They said it was a 5.
EF5s, I've never heard about an EF4 or EF5 that was going 80 miles an hour. It's just, it's such a large
That's a lot of
thing that it would almost shear itself apart if the storm itself was going. So do tornadoes go that fast? Yes, they can. Right. Usually they are of a smaller magnitude to do that. I mean, if you got an EF5 going 80 miles an hour, that's just end of the world kind of thing.
I think that's like the last scene in the movie Twister. That's our opening scene. I don't know how the movie could be more grandiose after seeing that. That's terrifying. Overpasses are the worst place you could possibly hide in a tornado. No, we can't hide there. Cut to, we're all running for the overpass. And what happens? You all die. What did we learn?
Well, all but two.
Well, there was one in the tornado. The other one was in a truck eating fig Newtons on his radar.
That's true, yeah.
Great to include. Yeah, don't do that. But the movie actually showed consequences.
Yes.
And it wasn't, they got, well, I mean, one of them got sucked into a tornado. That's a whole different story. But it was mostly debris that they encountered during this scene. Like, most of them got injured because of debris, which is exactly why you don't hide under an overpass. It's a wind tunnel. It's funneling debris straight at you. And even though, you know, it wasn't great for our main character, very nice that the movie showed the consequences of what actually happens when you hide under an overpass. You're not going to get the Bill and Joe, you know, everything is fine, but the boards are lifting off the bridge above us.
That's right. It's funny, because I remember sitting there watching it as they were in the truck, and it's like, what do you do? And I sat there and I thought there for a second, what if that was me? You know, we all know, okay, don't go for the bridge, but what else is there? You're looking around, you're trying to make a split-second life or death situation. The gravity of that and the seriousness of, I have to make a decision, a life or death decision. What do I do? And sometimes you don't make the right choice. So it was just interesting to see how they wrote that out and how it played out. I think they did it very well.
Moving into Act 2 of the movie, we are now in present day movie time. A reoccurring thing throughout the movie is tornado sirens are going off, we're looking at the radar, we're seeing the tornado in real life, and the weather graphic does not have a tornado warning box, all but like maybe twice throughout the whole movie. No, if there is a hook on a radar, that is a radar indicated tornado. There is a tornado warning box around that. If there are storm chasers who have said, we've called this in, and NWS has received that phone call, there is a red box around that tornado. If there is a tornado on the ground and tornado sirens are going off, they are going off because there is a red box around it on the radar. That is all tied together. It was just a strange mistake to see in a movie where like every single detail is pretty much spot on.
It seemed like every time there was a storm, there was no warning.
Yeah.
That's the impression I got. Was a lot of the storms that they chased, and there was a tornado, it formed so quickly that there was no warning, no nothing. Yeah, that can happen.
Right.
But when it happens, our radars nowadays, especially in the Weather Service, they scan very frequently. They have a number of algorithms and can detect radar indicated rotation. They can automatically assign, hey, this storm should be tornado warned. There's a tornadic signature with the storm.
They've noticed on their own radars, hey, the velocity is showing rotation up to 200 miles an hour, like they've said that in the film.
Right, exactly. So for these kind of situations, for no warning whatsoever, that tends to be on the side of not reality.
And the whole premise for this is Oklahoma is going through one of the most unprecedented tornado outbreaks. Like, there's tornadoes everywhere. Like, there's high risk. We show the graphic and the Channel 4 News Oklahoma City shout out. That was cool. High risk this, high risk that. Look at all these meteorologists on TV are saying all this, which means that the National Weather Service knows about it. SPC is looking at it. How do we know that it is going to be a huge day for tornadoes, yet nobody is monitoring these little cells that are popping up in the perfect location? I mean, Kate looking out at the sky says, oh yes, instability. How are the meteorologists back at SPC or the National Weather Service not being like, we should monitor this cell and issue a warning box? It's just another sloppy thing. Meteorologists wouldn't do that in real life.
In these situations where you've got rapid rotation, especially at the lower levels, you're seeing it with the naked eye, the radar is going to flag that. It's not going to go unnoticed. Beside that,
all the graphics were tornadoes.
Yes.
Yeah, that was cool. The
That's
actual
right.
storm, it showed the velocity, it showed the hooks, it showed reflectivity, like spot on for all of that. Other than the boxes, excellent graphics. In the big storm chasing scene with the windmills, we see a windmill actually fall over, which was cool, unintentional shout out to a tornado that happened in real life, but that was after they were filming. Either way, very cool. We see the windmill fall. We know that the tornado from far away is affecting the windmills and knocking them over and stuff. We decide to park next to windmills. None of them fall over. Our heroes are fine. All the windmills stay up. As the tornado is coming to them, windmills stay up. However, that aside, one of the most unrealistic things is that they keep driving on dirt roads and not a single one of these heavy trucks gets stuck in the mud. They parked in a puddle one time. You know what happened? They were fine.
So there's one scene that was the twins.
Twin tornadoes. A really cool scene to watch.
To me, it had the appearance of it was two funnels that came down from the same mesocyclone.
Yes.
So from the same storm
That's what it looked
system.
like.
But they were talking about how it was the Fujiwara effect. And I could
Right.
see where they were getting that, where, you know, you would have two spinning systems that are spinning around each other. The thing is with the Fujiwara effect is that it's two independent systems and how they interact with each other spinning around, not necessarily two stovepipe tornadoes
Right.
in the same storm system that are rotating because the whole system
Yeah.
is rotating, and that's why they are rotating. It's not like they are two independent things rotating around each other. Is it technically
Yeah.
accurate? Not when it comes to Fujiwara and being two separate systems. And speaking of which, we actually do have a video
We do.
out there that actually talks about the Fujiwara effect.
Yes.
So go ahead and check that out.
Do have to say that the EF3 to disappeared to bright sunny day cliche did happen a couple times. But
Not as much as Twister.
not as much as Twister.
So props to Hollywood on this one.
We're getting better. The rodeo scene where there was a tornado at night out of absolutely nowhere and it was a huge tornado kind of struck me as strange because they all kept talking about how big the tornado risk was all the time. And they both have meteorology degrees. Why did they not know that A, there was a storm in the area, or B, to be checking the radars because the risk is high? It was never really explained if this was like a tornado out of nowhere, but I wouldn't think it would be because they kept hyping up how big this, you know, the risk is 24/7 out in Oklahoma for this week. Very strange that they would get caught off guard by that tornado, but it does happen sometimes.
But although they were caught off guard, everyone's phones went off. That there was
Yes.
a warning, so there was enough
sirens?
of lead time to get
Yes.
at least get folks evacuated. And that's you know, when you think about it logistically, when you have a large event, to just have somebody just get on the microphone, we need to get out of here, tornado's coming. Ooh, that's not orderly evacuation.
No,
There's sense of urgency,
chaos.
definitely. But when you leave it up to thousands of people trying to bail quickly, get out to the parking lot, get in cars and leave, it's going to be mass chaos.
Yeah.
And that does happen. I guess that is, you know,
Yeah.
some reality. That was interesting how they played that scene out.
Props to them for showing hiding in an empty pool. Great place if you can't find a basement, underground, lowest, ditch, you know. It was cool to see the contrast between the beginning of the movie where you hide under an overpass to middle of the movie, now we're hiding in a ditch essentially. It was a cool callback. The scene in the barn where they are flipping through notebooks and they're talking about the science project that she was putting together and all that was super, super cool. I loved the details that they actually wrote into the notebook. I think I may have seen a glimpse of the quasi-geostrophic omega equation, which sent flashbacks of college, if you know, you know. But it was super cool to see like a notebook that had actual meteorological equations in it, like terminology. They put a lot of thought and time and energy into even something so small as the notebook and then the modeling thing that they were doing and
The details to that.
and very like Twister was brought into the modern day. If Twister had access to the technology that Twisters does, this is exactly what I would expect to see, and it was so cool to see the parallels between 1996 technology to 2024 technology. I want half of the stuff that they have in this movie just to sit in front of my computer and model some of this stuff. That would be so cool. The things that they have brought into this, amazing. All right, should we talk about the ending of the movie with the cloud seeding and the diaper polymers?
You said that very well. Again, trying to disrupt the tornado.
Tame.
Tame the tornado by introducing silver iodide, which would cause condensation and therefore maybe a cooling effect, and that cooling effect would cause, instead of an updraft, a downdraft, or at least stop the updraft. And then throwing in the other component there, I forget, it was sodium something.
Sodium something or other.
Yeah, I was trying to understand that part. What did you get from that part?
Step 1 was create the water, and step 2 was absorb it with the diaper things. So silver iodide, cloud seeding, is a thing that happens. You've seen it in weather movies, you've heard about it on the news. Condensation is the opposite of evaporation, and evaporation is a cooling process. So by that definition, condensation would be a warming process, would it not?
Yeah, latent heat of condensation.
Yeah.
So as, let's say, a parcel of air, when it condenses, you're forming a cloud particle or whatever as you reach saturation, and therefore heat is released. It's called latent heat of condensation, so it actually adds heat to the surrounding environment.
So it would not add to the cold pool, it would actually add warmth.
That's right.
To the storm. But there's moisture. Second wave is these polymers that are absorbing said moisture in the hopes that by taking away that you can collapse the updraft, perhaps. But a tornado is wind that we can see because of a condensation funnel. The part of the tornado that's all pretty and it's the clouds on the ground, that's the condensation part of it. However, you have seen before in real life pictures of tornadoes where the bottom part might not be touching, but you can still see the debris and everything because the condensation funnel isn't all the way on the ground, but the wind is. So by getting rid of the moisture out of the funnel, the wind would still be there, wouldn't it? And that's the destructive part.
Right. I see where they're going. The thing is that when you've got a full-blown, especially in this case, full-blown EF5 looking tornado, mature, and it's just grinding away, and you put a relatively small amount.
Very small.
Oh, I mean, you've got,
It was 3 rockets and then 16 maybe not even 16 barrels?
I mean, compared to
barrels?
something that was over a mile wide, to try to adjust those processes and then have the wind just completely dissipate within a matter of seconds is unrealistic. That's not the way the atmosphere has to balance itself.
Yeah.
It takes a while for wind going that fast to wind down.
Right.
It's just like if you're at the park, on a playground, and you're spinning around on one of those merry-go-rounds.
Yeah.
And when you go to disrupt it by stopping the source, which is somebody spinning it, and you let it go, it's going to take time to spin down. Right. And even if you stick your hand out a little bit, or you have something to kind of hit the poles as they're going by to slow it down, it takes time to still wind it down. It doesn't come to a stop within seconds.
Physics-wise also, imagine you're on the merry-go-round thing and it's comes to a sudden stop. You would go flying off of that thing because of the laws of physics. Now imagine you have this mile-wide tornado full of debris. If you just stop the wind, all of that debris is going to shoot out in every direction like a wave of destruction that's probably worse than the tornado just carving out its mile-long path. There's a little bit more physics that goes into it, and these storms are a way of, like you said, the atmosphere balancing. There's a lot of energy here, we need to disperse it. This is one way that it does it. Lightning is another. To just stop that process, the atmosphere still needs to discharge all of that energy and balance itself back out. I would think just by disrupting it, you would cause more problems elsewhere.
One thing they didn't touch upon was, okay, we're putting this absorbent material into the air.
Where's it going?
But what is the environmental effects afterwards?
Right.
Great idea, but it's got to fall out of the sky and land somewhere. What does that do to the surrounding area?
Shout out to the tie back to Twister with the drive-in scene, and this one with the movie theater scene when it blew out the back wall and it was it went from movie to then there was the Twister in the background. That was probably just one of the coolest shots I've ever seen in a movie theater. That was awesome. The tornado stopping right before it hit the movie theater. I know we have to build up, but how did it make you feel with our tornadoes disappear because of plot right before hitting the characters? Cliche.
It definitely adds to the cliches. Give it another one. Yep.
But at this point, I mean, we expect it, don't we?
What did you think? All right, here we are. We're at the end, and where is it going?
El Reno. But we knew that from the trailer.
Poor El Reno. They just never get a break.
And it's this huge, and they had to throw in, you know, it's turning abruptly. It was just, was it a little too much? I don't know. But at the very end, you know, you had the girl who was almost sucked into the tornado and she did not, leaving our cliche tornado sucks up people counter to only 6, I do believe, for this movie. If you go see the movie, count and let me know in the comments below if I missed one. One thing that we pointed out in the trailers that we were reacting to that I did not see in the movie at all is when the tornado hit the power plant thing. And in the trailers, I believe they said something like, this is adding to the tornado, it's growing the tornado, and we did like a whole talking segment on that. It was not in the movie, which to me says they listened to our review and must have left it out, is what
that's probably it, yeah.
Take away from that. So yeah, no further explanation or discussion on one of those points from the trailers that we were like, we need to keep an eye out. They left it out. So Hollywood, since you are obviously watching our videos, when you make twisters with 2 S's, hit us up.
Twins. Twin S's.
Too much. That was our thoughts and opinions on the movie Twister. Again, we did a lot of nitpicking here at the end. That's what our review is for. We're gonna pick apart the meteorology and tell you what's not as accurate as maybe it could be. But overall, the things that we pointed out made up, what, maybe 20 minutes of a 2-hour movie?
Yeah. I mean, in honesty,
it was great.
Yeah, it didn't really take away from the movie.
No.
It didn't diminish the experience of it for us.
Distract.
It was just things
yeah.
that was like, you know, oh, side note, okay, that's not 100% accurate,
Right.
or that could have been a little bit better. As we do with Annie Reacts, we always talk about the meteorological accuracy as well as the entertainment value. So let's get into the meteorological accuracy on a scale of 0 to 10, 1 to 10, negative 100 to positive 100. Our scale is just kind of
we've
gone
expanded.
both ways.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, we put the original Twister at about a 7, and I think just based on how many meteorological terms and situations that they have put into this film and the percentage of those that were accurate, I think Twisters on the accuracy scale does have to rank higher than the original Twister for me. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. Again, Twister set the bar, and it was really a first movie of its kind to really do what it did, so they kind of had to Hollywood it up a little bit. Now that we're with Twisters and it's 2024, they have a little bit more latitude to throw in a little bit more sciencey, nerdy kind of things. So when it comes to meteorological accuracy and how they threw some more of the terminology in there, and along with the radar screens and what was on the monitors, excellent. I would definitely say it ranks higher than Twister. I'd give it a solid 9.
I would go with 9. Yeah, let's put it there.
So in terms of entertainment value, did it keep your attention? Was the meteorology like, yes, this is entertaining, and the chasing and all the things? What do you think? On a scale, again, from 1 to 10.
I'll put it this way. I wish this movie came out in February because I am fired up to chase all the storms so much more than I have been this season so far, and there's nothing to chase! Phenomenal 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10. Yes, very, very great.
I would definitely give it a 10. They did a really, really good job. Very entertaining. During the intense scenes, it was intense long enough for me.
Dad jumped a few times.
I did jump a
said,
few
"Oh,
times. Good thing I wasn't holding my water. I would have dumped it all over me. It was intense long enough to get the feels, so they didn't overplay it.
It wasn't overdone.
They didn't underplay it, and they put a good number of those kind of things in the film. It wasn't 2 hours of solid clutching your heart going, you know, what's the next thing that's going to happen? And it wasn't long, boring segments from one scene to the next
It was very
event.
compact.
So they did an excellent job with that. So definitely a 10.
Yeah. So there you have it. 2 meteorologists reacts to the movie Twisters. Let us know down in the comments. What did you think? Do you feel the same way? Did we miss anything? What was your favorite part? And I guess we'll see you back here for Twisters with 2 S's.
Or Twisters 2. Or
2 Twisters.
2 Twisters.
3 Twisters?
Triplets.
Stop. As always, if you like what you saw, be sure to leave a like and subscribe down below so you never miss the next Meteorology Monday. This one is being posted on the weekend because we can't just wait till Monday to post this review. The movie has already come out. We need to discuss the things we need to discuss with you in the comments.
Right.
If you would like to learn a little bit more about meteorology, maybe get into the basics and some of the cool things like how thunderstorms form, how it interacts with tornadoes and lightnings and hurricanes and all those processes, check out our School of Weather. It'll be linked at the top of the description box. We would love to see you over there. And as always, follow us over on our social media, Facebook and Instagram. If you follow us over there, you saw Dad finally got his movie theater M&Ms, his drink, his movie tickets, as we've been talking about for the past months. Until next time, I'm Kayla.
And I'm Jim.
Thanks for watching.
And if you feel it,
chase it!